I want to tell y'all a quick story. There's not going to be really any an attached news story to this. This is more of a cautionary tale. When I was growing up in North Alabama in the spring and summer, the most beautiful berries would grow all around me naturally. And I think it was mostly wild strawberries and blackberries. I can remember my mom telling me I could not eat them. And I thought this fruit grows free. As a kid, it's growing free within feet from me. And people are going to the grocery store buying this. This makes no sense. Some food still grows naturally free off in the woods. So that's a wooded area. And it started with all of these berry trees. Why can't I eat those berries? And I think she had said something about them being poisonous, but I didn't believe her because they looked like the blackberries in the store, only the store wanted you to pay more for the same thing. And I loved fruit growing up, but lived in a food jungle. See, food jungles are different in different places. Alabama, you could still have wild things like mushrooms, things like that grow. You didn't eat them. My mom was like, nope, because when I was a kid, I shunned mushrooms. I didn't get an appreciation for them till I got older. So I would look at that thing and be like, ugh, who would eat that? And I can even remember stomping on mushrooms as a kid, like other kids, because it's like, ew, mushrooms. So it was easy for me not to just go picking them up. So when I got warnings about mushrooms, it's like, good, I don't want those, ew. I really thought she was making that up. I, at the time, an active duty sailor, get stationed in Washington State. Without fail, every July, right after the 4th of July, up until mid August, I see people picking in large numbers wild blackberries. And I would be thinking, y'all know those are poisonous, right? Because I live in Kitsap, on the Kitsap Peninsula, which is an hour outside of Seattle. I've told y'all that dozens of times. There'd be beautiful berries, and people would just go out and pick them. And of course, they were probably picking them for different reasons for the Blackberry Festival. That's what I would think. That always happens in August in my county. I'm like, y'all know those are poisonous, right? But people would go out in large numbers. Now, for context, in the state of Alabama, I was told to never pick those berries. But I would notice that other kids didn't pick and eat them either, and I didn't put two and two together. After many years, I was in my 40s before I looked it up and found out that in some parts of Alabama, though that's legitimate fruit, that fruit really is poisonous and you're told to abstain from picking them. So when I got to Washington and people were picking berries, I'm like, these people are going to hurt themselves because I was still in my Alabama mindset, but I'm now a Washington State resident. So ever since, I've jumped on the bandwagon, picked berries too. And those are not poisonous like Alabama. Here's the thing. What's the lesson in this story? I get wild blackberries that can sometimes get out of hand and grow in our yard. My husband takes care of them. Um, I'm not against foraging at all. And people will say, well, it's your yard, Tara. It's not actually foraging. Yes, because we have a lot of blackberries grow here in the woods. So it would be foraging. I've done that before. I don't advise foraging most of the time, but I'm not against it either. I suspect, and I never put two and two together, that some people are going to get curious about free food that grows out in the wild. That's not besides game, because it's really hard to unalive a moose or a deer, things like that, but it's easy to pick berries. You might run into some bears while you do that, depending on where you are, because black bears eat berries, okay? They eat meat and they eat fruit. So, for hibernation. So okay, people go fishing all the time, but just like fish, you can't eat all of the fish that are in the wild, just like you can't eat all berries and things. And mushrooms are no exception. Like Tara, where are you going with this story? I had read something in the Daily Mail that between 18 November 2025 and 4 January 2026, a couple of people eating what's called a death cap mushroom. Don't get mad at me, YouTube. That's what they call the mushroom. Have been rushed to the hospital with organ failure. Eating mushrooms that are wild when you don't know what they are can cause unalivings. It because I can't say the actual word, be adult here. It can cause hallucinations, headaches, organ failure, lots of things. The bad news is wild mushrooms can look the same as some mushrooms in the store. So you'll let your guard down and won't know. Again, my hatred for mushrooms as a kid is a reason I never picked them wild. I eat them now, love them, one of my favorite foods. But I'm gonna buy them in a safe environment. I don't want to self-righteously tell you you cannot forage for food. What I am going to tell you is that something that looks innocent can hurt you. What did this lesson teach me? I think the people who ate those and were fighting organ failure or hallucinations or whatever happened because they had emergency surgeries and it messed up their bodies just eating those mushrooms, because not even boiling and cooking them will remove the poison, just to let you know. I think those people were curious. What happens when starvation starts to kick in and people don't have time to distinguish the difference between poisonous berries and non-poisonous ones, but they need to eat, but they don't want to steal, so they'd rather forage for the wild stuff? This is when it's gonna get scary. I'll give you an example, and I know now another reason my mom didn't do it. I don't know if we have Atropha belladonna in Alabama, but Atropha belladonna is a berry that eating 6 of them, and they're the size of a blueberry, can unalive a human child. And it can do grave damage up into unaliving a human adult. The bad news is if you're not on your guard and you don't know the difference, it looks just like a blueberry. So you can pull dozens of those thinking they're blueberry, and they're very sweet and pleasing to taste, not realizing that you're actually catering to your own unaliving. That's when foraging can also get you in trouble. Here's the thing. If you need to eat, you need to eat. I would tell you not to do it. But if you're going to forage for food, learn per your county or your general area what to look for when something may or may not be edible. And go with someone, a local expert guide, who can tell you yay or nay. And even some of the experts will not 100% know when it comes to mushrooms. This is one of those things that's interesting because I didn't catch on to this until I found that story in the Daily Mail. It's possible that people are going to start going off in these woods taking berries and mushrooms and not realizing they're catering to their own unalivings. And if you're already starving and probably poor, you're just going to add to a large hospital bill because you're not paying attention. Right now, people do this out of curiosity, but as groceries get more expensive and people still want to eat and eat healthy, they're gonna start foraging for food. If you all are gonna forage, okay, I encourage you to do it in a safe manner by knowing and understanding what you can and can't forage, because even something as innocent as berries. If it's in an environment where a lot of pesticides and toxins were, those berries can look unassuming and still make you sick. Again, I would tell you not to do it, but if you are going to do it, it's not something that you just go hiking and on a whim, oh, I forgot me a protein bar, so I'm just going to pick these wild strawberries. Don't mean they won't poison you, though. I say no, just in case for survival, because you could get lost on a mountain or something, what you can and cannot consume, and how it will nourish you till you can get to safety. Because some people are going to have to forage if they got lost in the woods. Don't just willy-nilly pick something because the aesthetic of it tells you that it could be good for you. You've got to do your research. All right, thank y'all for listening. If you're going to forage, be careful about that. Be safe and have a good one.